I'm a
Very good.
researcher and technologist working on bioregionalism and community organizing. And I'm excited to see more infrastructure for regeneration and for systemic change coming to life. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Michael or Ben? Sam, go ahead.
Was that to me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just hopped in from another meeting.
Just introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm Sam Bennett. I am the Director of Product and Registry Systems here at R&D PBC. I've been here about 4 years and really excited to bring a background of geography, computer science, and really an interest in the intersection between the on-the-ground work and software product to help evolve R&D PPC's app and the greater ecosystems product roadmap.
Thank you, Sam. Great. Jimo.
Hey, everybody. Longtime Regen Network friend here. I'm the founder of Sylvie. We're working on reforestation specific tech stack with a MRV app and sort of stewardship methodologies, collaborating a lot with Antonio in the Sicily bioregion, as well as a few others around the globe, and have always been very eager to kind of be able to nest sort of tree logic into the Regen Network ecosystem. So yeah, I'm here to continue on that pursuit.
Great. Julio?
Hello, I'm Giulio. I've been working with the Crypto Commons Association in the last years, maybe somebody may know, and now I'm working on the Commons Economy roadmap, but also I'm working as a consultant for Regen Network, and we are figuring out how to improve the fundraising for local projects. And in general, I'm interested into improving, empowering the business models and organizational models for regeneration. I'm based in Barcelona as well. Yep.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Quite a representation of the network. We're going to jump right in. We're obviously running a bit behind. Thanks for your patience, but we are recording so we can make sure we get to spread this for those who are not attending. Gregory Landaway, take us away.
All right. Well, that was lovely. It's just nice to get everybody's voices and feel the kind of breadth and depth of those of us who, at a pretty last minute, were able to come together and start the new year off exploring this idea. So I'm going to give about a 10-minute presentation right now. I'm going to try to bridge a little bit thematically between kind of this larger concept of what does it take to create a truly new form of value and build community around that new form of value and use that new form of value to radically accelerate conservation, regeneration, and land stewards around the world in real life, in real world places, while also kind of grounding all of this in the numbers and the practicalities of what it takes to actually engage and enact and succeed in the present moment of the economy and business as it exists right now. I'm not sure that I can bridge that gap fully, but I'm going to do my best. So here we go. So our mission, right, together, all of us, is to make the value of ecological health visible, legible, and truly honored and valued in the global economy. That's what we're here for, to do that efficiently, effectively, and in a way that equitably distributes the gains that are generated by doing that. And in order to do that, I just want to propose that what we're doing is actually forming a completely new type of capital that is not the same extractive, degenerative form of capital. That's a new representation of wealth and value. And that it's the base of what we're really all doing together is that, which is bold, challenging, and ambitious. But in order to do it, we have to engage with the existing world, the world as it is. So what is the world as it is today, and as it relates specifically to sort of like the segment of the market that we're all engaging with together? So this is the market as it exists for nature, in quotes, right? That in 2022 was about 154 billion. And this is actually excluding things like a lot of carbon markets, which in 2022 were more like 350 billion. This is specifically talking about nature, in quotes, nature-based solutions, things that are relating to, if it is carbon, carbon in forests or soil, water, biodiversity, conservation, landscape regeneration processes. So just to give you a sense of this. And where we've been focusing at R&D and as a broader community is really in 4 key areas: sort of voluntary carbon markets, the emerging world of biodiversity credits, emerging world of water credits, and conservation markets, which have an average year-over-year growth rate of 64.72%. So just to ground this, we have this ambitious goal of creating an entirely new form of capital, but also we're operating in a rapidly growing market together, and we're an ecosystem of businesses that are succeeding at an ever-increasing rate. So to further ground this in like what's happening right now, UNEP in their State of Nature Finance report in 2023 estimated that the gap for these nature capital markets is about $7.5 trillion per annum by 2030. So you can just sort of back into that. If right now, it's a little different from this estimate, which is just short of, it's $500 billion, right? So different people are saying different things and calculating different growth rates. This UNEP State of Nature Finance is actually stating what they believe is needed in order to achieve SDG goals and kind of create a habitable planet in the future, not necessarily tracking what the existing growth rates are, which is sort of more this data, just to kind of ground us all in markets and growth. But of course, part of what's happening right now is that there's this radical distrust, both in the concept of nature markets and in the existing instantiations of nature markets, like the voluntary carbon market, because they were built in some very deeply flawed ways. And the market has figured that out, and activists have figured that out. And so there's sort of a rejection and reaction taking place at the same time as the market's quickly growing and not growing fast enough. We also have this giant bump in the road, which is that the incumbent approach has failed. And why has it failed? Well, I would argue because they're sort of the failure is from first principles in using commodity logic, in using sort of top-down bureaucracy logic, and failing to understand that if we are going to apply markets into this domain, it's going to require us to embrace complexity. And what's interesting is the most complex of all kind of, you might say, ecological assets, arguably is going to be biodiversity credits. It also happens to be one with the fastest growth rate. It's also one of the smallest current market segments, but it's growing really quickly. So in order to embrace that complexity, I guess our proposal as a community, really, and this is why we have an entire network represented. This isn't one company. This isn't one project. This isn't one methodology, standard approach, or registry system. This is a community and networked approach, is that in order to embrace that complexity, in order to form this new form of value, in order to be able to account for biodiversity and water and living carbon, we actually have to have a fully networked approach that's dynamic, connective, adaptive, so that these ecological assets emerge out of that networked approach, not static, institutional, bureaucratic, and falling into the traps of traditional commodity markets. I'm just going to state, we found out while we were at, and this is really by and large, due to the amazing work of Terrazos, and I see Francisco hopped on, and we're so grateful that you joined us. But we found out that 81% of the voluntary biodiversity market is on Regen Network as of 2024, which is kind of amazing. And again, I want to say, why is that? It's because that form of value, to account for it in a good way, requires dynamic, adaptive, cooperative, networked approach. It's just not going to work through existing institutions. You need leaders who have boots on the ground, who are working with local stakeholders like Terrazos to be able to make these credible. You don't need some exterior, bureaucratic entity in Geneva or something to make these credible. So what we believe is that that is indicative of this inevitability of the approach that Regen Network is taking becoming the base layer for ecological accounting. That because of the first principles that are needed for this type of nature accounting, being network-centric, being cooperative, relational, grounded in place-based projects, grounded in best-in-class digital infrastructure, that this is essentially the indicator of the inevitability of this approach, and Regen Network itself essentially establishing itself as the base layer for this new form of value accounting. So what would happen? This is just kind of like, the classic Sam song. If we're talking about 2030, we could kind of calculate a $4.2 trillion nature market. That includes all sorts of segments, and is conservative, by the way. One way that you could calculate this, it would be more than 12. Note on the total available market, I actually think it's important to understand that this is also about including sort of true cost accounting into goods and services, not just standing up sort of like a voluntary market specifically for ecological assets. Specifically, we have this, something like $20 billion market for those assets, like voluntary carbon credits, voluntary biodiversity credits, impact certificates in nature, right? That's the estimated. And then within that, really being strict and saying there's a very small percentage of that that's going to be running on regen, oftentimes less than 1%. We kind of were calculating the idea that we can capture about $2.4 billion per year being originated and exchanged and used on Regen Network itself. I actually think that's kind of maybe not ambitious enough. So just to give a sense, zooming out, what does that look like? What does that look like for Regen Network to be an infrastructure that is connecting projects on the ground through market apparatus, through registration services, and sort of creating a unified approach? Who is already using this? Who's engaging with us? Who's buying things? Who's working on origination? Many of you in this larger Zoom room and together with us here are listed or are responsible for this amazing group of leaders that are sort of succeeding in this stage of things. And I'm just kind of accelerating a little bit here. I want to just sort of say, again, in order to have dynamic, community-centric, adaptable infrastructure that makes this all possible, these are the foundations, right? Transparency and the ability to manage claims, progressive verification, being able to actually do dynamic monitoring, have access to real-time data. This is incredibly important. And of course, what's oftentimes forgotten and why Regen Network is so potent is that we actually need distributed governance, collaboration, and agency. This isn't actually an industry that can just be captured by a single privately held or even publicly traded business. It actually needs to be a community owned and community operated so that we can empower people on the ground to succeed deeply in their bioregions, to create their own standards, but to collaborate and share across other geographies and other domains. So in order to achieve that, right, we have this stack of tools. we have a blockchain, Regen Ledger, which is custom built, purpose built specifically for ecological accounting, which has a token distribution, which is targeted to leaders in the emerging nature accounting space, to indigenous peoples, to citizen science groups, to businesses that are making this their domain. We have a registry system, which Sam will get to talk about in a little bit more depth, but allows for this dynamic accounting, claims management, and standards governance. And we have a marketplace that is being extended and plugged in by folks like EcoToken to make it possible to tokenize an ecological asset once and bring it wherever you need to go. Web3, Web2, where are the buyers, what are their needs, just being able to extend that functionality. So I'll just sort of walk through each of those layers, and then I'm going to pause and pass it on. So at the base layer, what are the attributes? Why do we have a sovereign layer 1 blockchain at the heart of all of this? Well, one reason is because we believe that this enables us to have an ethical capital formation, which is what we're all gathered here to talk about in more depth, centered on the Regen token, to create the opportunity for self-provisioning, for us as a community to be funding in our own way. It creates congestion-free, low-cost, fast, decentralized, secure transactions, and it allows us to create a user experience where people can tokenize once and bridge wherever they want. At the registry system, creating this user experience so that we can plug in an API into different data sources, different oracles, and allow people to make claims against that. Creating a strong graph-based knowledge system so that we can actually create a semantic foundation for what ecological health is and how it relates to value claims, and the ability to create a plug-and-play system so that people can just use a registry system that is orders of magnitude better than the existing registry softwares. And then, of course, at the top, the ability to white label this and share for folks like Terrasos, folks like C-Trees in different ways, to create their own marketplace so that they can center their brand process and their trust process with the stakeholders that they need, not try to make it about Regen. What Regen is here to do is empower those processes and make it possible for people all around the world to directly fund regeneration, conservation, and succeed. So I'm going to pause with that.
Great. Could you spend 1 minute and just center the where the token is going to show up, the Regen token, just as far as like the discussion today, just like how Regen will show up in the across the conversation, or to set the tone for people, the expectations.
Sure. Well, and I'll maybe be speaking about this a little bit more in my second talk. I think that James from EcoToken is certainly going to be talking about this, and we'll certainly be doing lots of roundtable and in-depth conversation for those of us who are here in New York City. But broadly speaking, what we've realized is that, and this is something that we've made public a couple times at R&D, but R&D, Regen Network Development, which is the public benefit corp, which has been one of the key drivers for developing Regen Ledger, a lot of the science stack, and doing business development around these ecological assets, has changed our regulatory stance around the token. And that's one of the reasons why we're here together, is to start to work together as a community about how we're going to navigate the emerging new regulatory environment related to crypto assets in the United States. So up until this year, we had kept a massive arm's length away from even discussing the existence of the token in public. It exists, it's an important part of governance and security, but we've never talked about capital formation or processes or liquidity processes, market making processes, and why and how Regen as a token can evolve to become an index, a proxy, and a funding source for ecological regeneration, where the Regen token can actually become the symbolic representation of this new form of capital. We haven't had that conversation in public. We've just had that aspiration expressed in the white paper, which is was published long ago and is esoteric, and who's going to read it. Now we get to revitalize and reinvigorate that conversation in public with our community in order to start making plans and coordinating how to approach ethically forming a capital base around regenerative processes using the Regen token as the beating heart of that process. R&D is always going to take a stance, right, that any of those processes need to be deeply decentralized, deeply community-centric, and deeply transparent. So we're not going to be prescribing, we're not going to be orchestrating, but we will be convening, we will be inviting, and we will be making everything that we know available for the community to work together to start to engage in some of the questions that emerge around that topic. And that's what this is all about.
Great. Thank you. We're going to keep moving here. We've got a few people on a tight schedule, and thank you everyone for your patience and getting a little bit of a late start, but we're launched right in. Great. So thank you, Gregory. It was a great way to kick us off. So I wanted to next introduce for a brief update, given yesterday was Martin Luther King Day and was also the inauguration of our next president, President Trump, for round 2 with a new, people saying this is the first crypto president. And so,
shall I stop sharing?
Yeah, you can stop sharing. Our council, Norton Rose Fulbright, they've been there with us since the beginning, really have been deeply supportive of our growth and development and our requirement internally and desire to really follow the letter of the law and make sure that we're understand the regulatory landscape, and that's shifted. So we want to have Andrew just give a brief from his perspective. Again, this is all dynamic, very fluid, but from his perspective, just a sense of the room, if you will, the sense of the room from a regulatory policymaking perspective, where we might be heading and what we can start to envision for how we engage a Regen token as an accelerant for ecological regeneration globally. So Andrew.
All right, hi. So I'm Andrew Lom. I lead the fintech practice here at the firm. And so I'm about to go down to Washington to meet with a bunch of members of Congress and other folks about crypto policy, token policy. I guess there hasn't been an executive order yet in those 100 that came out. We know Paul Atkins, who's going to be the new SEC chair. He is very crypto friendly. Ueda, who's just got announced this morning as the interim, so I expect he's going to stay on. Again, very crypto friendly. What we're expecting is that the SEC is going to start to step back from this knee-jerk reaction that every token surely must be a security, and for a handful of tokens, and maybe more than a handful of tokens, start to let those ecosystems evolve. There will probably be rules of some kind. Those might actually come from the CFTC, which is basically where we were in 2019, and a fair amount of cooperation between those two agencies. Commissioner Pham at the CFTC was just named acting chair of the CFTC, and again, she is relatively crypto friendly. So I think the question is, how much of it is just kind of a complete hands off, and how much of it is, okay, hands off in one area, but here's some guiding principles or some rules in the other area, and whether that comes from the SEC, the CFTC, it's conceivable something comes from Treasury Department, or if it comes from Congress, I think is still kind of a big open question, which is why I'm going down there for 2 days to meet with people. And, the general view is that, this should only be positive for the industry, especially in the US. So that's where we are. I'll know more by Thursday.
Please, yeah, we look forward to report back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a big round of thanks to you and your team for all your support of Regen Network development over the year, and certainly we'll keep the community and the foundation especially. We'll make sure the community is aware of any updates as we get them from our team. So thank you.
Cool. Good to see you all.
Yeah, likewise.
I'm gonna go
All right, good luck in DC. All right, Max, are you there? If you are, if you could pop on video. Max Semenchuk is, and the tokenomics working group have been really early community conveners of being able to discuss tokenomics and the mechanics and how we want to show up with Regen Token a little bit more centered and orchestrated amongst the community. So Max, you have a few minutes if you'd like to share a little bit more about what's going on at the tokenomics working group, how people can engage and activate. So welcome.
Sure. Thanks so much. And happy to be here, sad that not in person. Today, I'd like to speak to you about the ecological impact, community trust, and investment perspectives. So as David invited me, he shared the intention to speak about the network value growth compared with the, with less focus on the maybe token price itself. And this is a great shift in my opinion, because when I just started to work, that passion was dominating the discussions. And now this new thinking is more productive for the network governance, as growing shareholder value is only part of the equation, and our mission is rooted in the ecological impact. So with that in mind, the cross-chain capabilities added and advocacy work and new methodologies development were big advancements last year. And also the development into banking-like structures, like with the liquidity DAO getting a loan rather than a grant, for example, is also like reflecting a more sustainable economic approach, which I welcome a lot. So here's my outlook for this year, which haven't changed, to be honest, too much from the 2024. Like it has 3 points, 3 key objectives to focus on. First one is the projects attracting more funds, I think is the key metric and why we are here basically. And currently it's, first of all, it's a bit harder to track the amount of money. We know the amount of credits or some other metrics, but we still lack exact numbers and not in the real time, but hopefully we could improve it. And also I would aim to administrative costs of maintaining our network, and institutions we hold here as working groups and so on. In total, it hopefully could be less than 10% of that funding we give to the projects. And we're still, I think, have a long way to go towards that. The second point is the global ecological community trust in our method. And in the Web3 space, Regen is one of the most valuable ecological brands, I think. But outside of Web3, blockchains like Bitcoin is still considered more as a problem than a solution, and we need to work towards that. And the best way to do that is to work on the goal number 1, proving, in the number of funds we provide to the ecological projects that we're making a significant impact there. And the third one is about the investors seeing value in investing in our ecosystem and our token. And that correlates back to the number 2, the trust. So like, is it known as the best socio-ecological investment of the day? I don't know, but I got this email from one investor recently asking me whether I see any positive development to the token price in the future. And I shared some ideas, but I also had so many questions in return, like how long did you expect to hold, and what growth would be considered good enough for you, and so on. And this, if you compare it to a typical VC fund, just as a vehicle for comparison based on the risk profile, usually they get money for 7 years, and they have stability during those years. And the typical annualized revenue return, rate of return, is 10 to 30%. So do our investors invest in the same time scale? Do they have the same profits in mind, or is it like to the moon and tomorrow? This is like an important contract which was set back in 2021 when the token was launched. And now also a question is if we apply this 7 years, so whoever invested in 21, if they would want to sell in 28, who they gonna sell to the country's funds, to the corpus, maybe hamsters? And would those buyers really benefit from it after us as investors? So all of the questions are in the heart for this token economy, but we also are like in the way like stuck with some decisions we made before, for example, following the Cosmos design, and it's hard to change some things easily now. So regarding the meeting we have, unfortunately, I can't stay too long because it's almost midnight here in Vietnam, but I will rewatch the videos and have productive discussions in our tokenomics calls, which happens every Tuesday. Tokenomics, regiontokenomics.org is our website with all the materials and where you can sign up for them. I hope to see more ideas directly resulting in more land projects funding. And I think it's more connected with sales and marketing, in my opinion. I would like to have more bridges in the mainstream economy. So hopefully we not only work with degens. And in any case, I welcome the plurality of perspectives possible here for us as a network and a movement. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Max. Appreciate it. Thank you for staying up and sleep well. Great. So we're going to go ahead and move over to the Regen Network Development Director of Product and Registry Systems, Sam Bennett, who's going to share a little bit more about our product roadmap, followed by Cassin from C-Trees and Francisco from Terrazos, who are going to share a little bit more about the projects being developed on Regen's technical stack. So Sam Bennett, welcome.
Thanks. Really excited to be here and see new faces and old. So let's see if I can do this. Great. So today I wanted to give an update on some of the product work and product focus of R&D PBC, both with the products that we hope to develop as an organization and the product initiatives that we want to support for everyone else in this ecosystem to be successful. So some of the content we'll see overlapped a little bit with Gregory's slide, and I think the goal here is really to ground Gregory's vision of this interconnected group of organizations working together to build solutions in more concrete software thought. So Gregory showed this earlier, but I just wanted to give a brief overview of the kind of product history of the larger Regen Network mission and some of the work that R&D PBC has done to support that. So, where we are today, we've built a great unified eco-crediting system. We have Regen Ledger, which has the eco-credit module, the data module, and the groups module to support crediting, to support layered attestations of data and anchoring of key pieces of information on Regen Ledger, and some good governance tooling. On top of that, we have the Regen Registry, which is both kind of a software solution for people to actually engage with the registration as a process and anchoring key pieces of credit development and project development processes on a software layer, as well as supporting people to deploy their own crediting protocols, to deploy their own programs. And we have both our own crediting program that a lot of organizations are using to develop credit protocols. And we also support third parties like Terrazos, in C-Trees that are doing it themselves. And then on top of that, we also have the Regen app, the Regen Marketplace, as well as a few other applications that are kind of at that top of that tech stack. Just to talk about some of the features a little bit more detail. So on-chain, we have the eco-credit module, which supports creation of crediting protocols, projects, and credit batches. The data module supports anchoring of data hashes, setting up of resolvers, and digital signatures to attest to the veracity of data. We have on-chain marketplace functionality, so people can engage in creating sell orders, buying credits on-chain. And then we also have the groups and governance module, which allows people to set up multi-sig style groups and engage in a variety of different governance policies. Within the R&D app, we also have today pathways for people to permissionlessly set up project pages and user profiles, both using email and Web3 based logins. So we're really trying to support making it easier for people to engage with our tech without actually having to go through the blockchain setup initially. Yeah, so people can engage in that. They can get into pre-financing for that early kind of project financing process. And then we also, one of our most exciting features this last year was our data functionality, which actually allows people to engage with the data module through our application by creating everything from blog style updates to uploading verification reports or photos from the fields that are actually anchored and signed on chain by the user. So now that I've kind of given a history, I wanted to just speak a little bit to and dig in on some of the things that Gregory discussed and kind of where the market is and how that grounds the product focus for our 2025. So this last year was really exciting. We saw an explosion in biodiversity initiatives, a surge of new crediting protocols, marketplaces, curation agencies, and overall, it seems like there's a lot of energy moving into this space. There's a lot more focus on more holistic approaches, moving beyond just engaging in carbon crediting and crediting in general. People are really interested, as well as supply chain insetting and just new approaches to climate finance. There's an increased demand for transparency, for real-time verification, and we're starting to see a shift towards a desire for more inclusive models that value traditional ecological knowledge and community-led initiatives. With all of that excitement, there are also challenges. There are just so many organizations in this space, and I wanted to just throw up this slide to show the, this is just a subset of the organizations working in developing projects, developing tech, doing project finance, developing standards, protocols, and that energy is really exciting, but there's also potential for a lot of silos to be built and lack of interoperability between systems. There's definitely potential for duplication of efforts across organizations, and a lot of this is just because people don't know the space is moving so fast that we're not fully aware of all the things that are happening. And with that in mind, the problem that we're really trying to solve for is kind of this trust deficit. While there's this really exciting explosion in new projects, new organizations, we're still seeing kind of the same three problems across the ecosystem, which the verification process is still very black box. It's not very transparent. And in that process, we're seeing a lot of distrust between the different stakeholders engaging in crediting in climate finance. The actual claims process is still very complex. We're kind of in this proof of PDF world where really lengthy documents are used to audit work, and it's very limiting in who can actually engage in that process. And it's also still very centralized, where we're relying on kind of bigger institutions or accredited organizations to give a stamp of approval to projects to get climate finance. And so Gregory showed this earlier, but just to highlight again, we're still kind of stuck in this top-down model, but the reality of how these work is that it's an interconnected ecosystem of people engaging in the process at various stages, in real time together. And I think that the group of organizations here have really shown how we can do that successfully. And so we at R&D are really thinking about how we can support kind of this graph-based, network approach to supporting climate finance. So this year, one of our biggest product focuses is really the idea of the regen registry and expanding, how we're thinking about and how we're supporting registry software to create, kind of an interoperable ecosystem. So before we were, mostly focused on putting people through our registry program, where we had a very lightweight program that defined rules and processes for people to create crediting protocols and issue credits. What we found with that is it was still kind of limiting, and really we wanted to focus on a broader set of applications beyond just crediting, and we also wanted to give more flexibility to stakeholders to have more autonomy in defining the process they want to go through to create claims, validate them, and get paid for them. And so we're with this idea of, what we're internally calling Registry 2.0, but for, here we'll just call the Regen Registry, is we want to address market fragmentation and really create a interoperable, neutral platform that allows people to build their own organizations, build their own programs and protocols in a way that it all speaks to each other, it's more transparent, and there's more pathways for actively engaging in the process and trusting your peers. Yeah, so just the idea of Registry 2.0 to kind of give a tighter definition to it. So, we want to create a comprehensive technical system for ecological claims management and contracting designed to aim to solve issues around interoperability. In doing that, we want to expand the idea of what it means to register something beyond just registering projects, credits, and data, but also legal agreements, environmental entities, programs, standards. So we're really kind of taking more of a technical definition of registry and focusing on registry systems. Just to go over some of the applications, we want crediting bodies, as they have been doing with our platform, to register their own programs, their own protocols, actually engage in registering projects, issuing credits, government agencies to register policies, programs, engage in grant funding distribution, and have better coordination between public and private sector. Indigenous communities can register traditional ecological knowledge, their practices, language. And then kind of on the other side of things, we also want to make it easier for third-party marketplaces, curation agencies, academic and research institutions to consume all of this data being uploaded to Regen Ledger to help advance, kind of their own platforms. So I think Gregory showed this earlier. So some of the foundations that we're really focused on with this idea of Registry 2.0 is transparent evidence and claims management. So we want permanent time-stamped records of data and claims, progressive verification. So really leaning into the idea that claims by nature don't happen in 2 or 3 instances where you develop a project plan, you have a monitoring report, someone verifies it, and you issue credits. But it's really an active, ongoing process in which many stakeholders are constantly uploading data, making attestations, and engaging with one another. And then distributed governance and collaboration. Just to kind of give an overview of, kind of what this looks like and how it engages with the ledger. So this is just a, very high-level overview of a crediting process for a biodiversity credit, where you can see the different stakeholders. On the bottom, we have the registry system, which is built on Regen Ledger. And so as the different stakeholders are engaging in creating registration documents, performing verification processes, collecting data, it's all actually being time-stamped, anchored on Regen Ledger in real time. And I showed this just to show that, it is really kind of a progressive process. This is more of the kind of like big milestone overview of it. But really in this MRV process, we're constantly going through a process of uploading data, field measurements, remote sensing, life plans, knowledge, tracking events like governance decisions, monitoring events on the ground. Those kind of data and events are really evidence for claims, which can later be bundled into more complex things like credits. I'm going to skip over this one. Yeah, and so at R&D, so we're really trying to focus on, this registry being kind of the middle layer between all of the people on the ground doing the work to engage in crediting processes and make it easy for third-party applications to support those, whether it's via selling credits at the end, building MRV applications that can plug into the registry. But while we have our app, we really want to support third-party application development so that EcoToken and SylviTree, Therasos, all of these organizations can plug into an interoperable framework and support these users in developing credits. So just to kind of slide into what R&D will be focused on for the year, we are focusing on trying to continue to develop more enterprise grade registry infrastructure. So within our own application, we want to develop better tools for uploading data, for engaging in governance, for doing third-party attestations on data, and have it more progressive kind of claims verification process. We want to build better API solutions so that third-party applications can plug into the registry. We want to support the development of graphs to help advance kind of AI, more queryability of things that are happening in the ecosystem. And then we also are going to be continuing our development of more kind of custom and bespoke third-party application development in the same way that we did with Therasos. In the immediate product roadmap, we will hopefully by mid-February be releasing our credit card purchase flow, which allows users to buy on-chain credits using credit cards. So before, people could only buy credits on-chain if they had a Kepler log or a blockchain login and using crypto. And so this actually allows people to buy credits either with crypto or fiat, either using an email-based login or a blockchain wallet. We're also going to be working on more collaborative project editing, organization, and member-level permissions. Right now, there's a pretty one-to-one relationship between who can engage in, project development processes through our application, like creating project pages, uploading data posts, uploading evidence, providing digital signatures. There's a more one-to-one relationship between the user and the project, and we want to make it easy for entire organizations and sets of organizations or different members to engage in that process together. Outside of our direct application development, we are also trying to support the development of the registry framework, which is really kind of the more technical language that allows for this interoperability. So the framework working group, which there are a few members on this call that are a part of, and it's kind of in its early stages, are really focused on how do we develop data standards and taxonomies, data types, processes, and workflows that allow interoperability between different applications. So EcoToken or SylviTrees could be using the same technical language as R&D in a way that if we wanted to migrate assets between applications, if people wanted to query data on other applications, it's really easy to actually do that and kind of all speak the same language. So this not only supports interoperability, but it also supports this idea of migrating things to machine readability in a way that we can start to think about how do we apply AI, how do we do advanced queries to really accelerate the rate at which we're learning about the relationships between practices on the ground, stakeholders, price discovery, things like that. Skip over these. So in addition to supporting the data, the framework working group, we are trying to support third-party applications and third-party application development. So we have the Regen Explorer idea, which is exploring and verifying blockchain transactions that, I think Aaron and Corey are really excited from R&D. We also want to support EcoToken in their development of the EcoToken application, which is a cross-chain application to aggregate credits, information, price discovery, data to really allow for kind of Web3 development. We want to support SylviTrees and their work with IPFS and all the other folks working in our ecosystem. Yeah, so, kind of in addition to all of that, some of the candidate product ideas that we have for R&D's application development in the coming year would be more auditable pathways for digital signatures, more seller focused dashboards and credit management actually attest to veracity of information on chain, and just making blockchain functionality more accessible to non-Web3 native users. Yep. So with that, I'll kind of leave it there. I don't know if we have time for questions or if Dave, you want to keep it moving, but
yeah, we'll probably keep it moving. Thank you, Sam. We'll hold some questions during lunch if you don't mind sticking around for that time. So I think what you've all seen is, we've talked about theory and architecture. We've talked about product development, but is it meeting a market that wants it? Is it meeting a market that can build on this software? And so the next few presentations that we're going to share, and again, these are all going to be between 5 and 10 minutes, are going to be project developers who are originating ecological assets, and then we're going to move into EcoToken, who's helping fulfill the vision of being able to originate a credit once on Regen Ledger and then distribute everywhere in Web3 and beyond. So we're going to go ahead and move into, I think, Casson. I think you're going to go first from C-Trees. Casson Trenner from C-Trees, thank you for joining us, and talk to us about how C-Trees is using Regen Network to grow its own business.
Okay, yeah.
Should I come sit in this seat? So
I can. Do they have the presentation?
Pardon me, yes, your presentation is ready to go.
Come have the
Captain's chair.
captain's chair.
Let's see.
Ready to rock?
Please.
Awesome. We're driving here?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Those that I can see and those that I cannot see. It's great to meet you. Thanks for taking the time for this. I'm super excited about this new chapter for Regen and this expansiveness and this community, the way it's growing. So I'm here on behalf of C-Trees. We are a biodiversity and carbon credit marketplace, been active in this space for quite a while, and I'm not actually alone. I have another team member that is here with us virtually, Orion. He is the science lead for C-Trees, and he and I and a number of people on that team have been working together on this project for quite a while. So let me give you a little bit of quick background. As you can see, this is our project map. So C-Trees does marine biodiversity rebuilding and revitalization projects all around the world. We create stewardship-based credits that allow for buyers, donors, corporate, and otherwise to participate in the revitalization of our marine ecosystems. You can see we work North America, Africa, Pacific, Indonesia, and around the world. This is the basics of our process. We really focus on nurturing community-led projects. We find those to be the most sustainable and most effective. We are incredibly diligent on ensuring that our work is fully transparent, fully understandable, and then we use the top tier of scientific methodology in order to both empower what we're doing, attract buyers, and ensure that this actually matters and makes a difference. Real quick snapshot on what we've done. So across the globe since our founding, we have planted millions of mangroves, coral fragments, and kelp forest square feet, and we are just getting started. Our goal is to grow from where we are right now, which is 28 active projects, to 100 active projects by the end of this time. So because of the technological promise of Regen, we at C-Trees became very interested in how we could potentially solve one of the problems that we feel has been bedeviling the crediting space for quite a while, which is how can we assure transparency, traceability? How can we forbid double counting? How can we basically make sure that these credits are the best and most trustable credits in the world? The blockchain-based technology that Regen brings really allows us to do that in a way that's never been done before. And starting about 2 years ago,
we as a team made the internal decision that we wanted to find a way to get involved with this. Not only to support the development of the regen community, but to harness the power of the regen blockchain to allow us to magnify, maximize, and amplify our impact around the world. And this gave birth over the course of about a year and a half to a new credit class that we were calling the C-Trees Biodiversity Block. This sculpture was what was created in Cali not too long ago. You may see a familiar face there on the slide. Our incredible project partner, amazing activist and artist Ben Von Wong, who is directly responsible for the creation of this tower. We love this tower because we feel that not only does this represent the precarious nature of global biodiversity and our propensity as human beings to remove blocks that make it ever more precarious, but it also really shows the kinesthetic nature of how we can build biodiversity back. We can use what we're calling blocks to put these things back together and strengthen our planet's biodiversity at large. So what is a block? A C-Trees Biodiversity Block is a credit class that allows for us to use a bespoke stewardship-based methodology, a methodology that we've designed that doesn't just look at, say, one mangrove planted or one tree planted. No, it's a representation of a unit of work done to restore and preserve methodology. So the simplest version of this within this class is the mangrove methodologies that we're using. That basically is one block means planting a mangrove and doing everything that is necessary to take care of it over 10 years and to employ the person that takes care of it over 10 years, as well as the monitoring, the overview, and everything else. So it's a multidimensional methodology that allows us to be much more impactful than simply looking at one specific action in time. These are some basic principles that underpin how we think about biodiversity blocks. I'm not going to go into this too much. These are just sort of buzzwords and important things that we wanted to bear in mind as we built this. This is our tech map. And one of the reasons that this has been a challenging project for us is because we did not build it in a vacuum, and we did not build it from the point of zero as an organization. We are an operating, sales-driven nonprofit. So we had to build this into something that was already working. The brain of our organization is Salesforce. We run a marketplace. We sell credits. So we had to find a way to do this that used that as the center of what we're doing. We had to find a way to do this that would connect Salesforce to our source of truth, Regen, to our marketplace provider, Shopify, and finally to where we actually wanted to generate the tradable and disseminable receipts that commemorate the retirement of these credits, which is on the Solana network. This was not easy. This involved the creation of 4 novel code stacks, connecting all of these disparate programs, and it's still undergoing. It was a massive project for a slightly technophobic nonprofit to get into, but we're very proud of where we've come, and we would not be anywhere close to where we are without the incredible help of people in this room and the Regen Network and all of your support. This is a quick overview of the credit class. The way that it was designed, it allows us to take action in 3 different types of marine habitats. One of the really great things about the regen process is we have the ability to create different hierarchical levels within our credit system that allow for both bespoke adaptability to what we do, but also the potential adoption of other similar actors and groups that may want to work in similar ways. So it creates momentum, which is great. I think probably the superpower of this project is the impact dashboard. Because of the nature of the crediting system, because of what we do and what we've been able to do by connecting things like Salesforce and Regen, we are able to provide our customers and donors with an interactive experience that is directly based specifically on their values and the choices that they have made. We also were able to build it so it works natively on both Web 2 and Web 3 rails. And so it looks the same in both ways. Let me give you an example. So if we look at the pilot project that we're launching, or that we've already launched, it's on sale now. You can all go to dashboard.ctrees.org if you want. Buy some credits for yourself. These are some basic specs of it. It's in Kenya. It's about building back a mangrove forest that's been chopped down and uprooted and just ruined in a bunch of ways, and is now coming back with a vengeance because of projects like this. So let's say you wanted to get involved with this. You go to our marketplace, you buy a credit, and then once you had that credit, you would be able to go to the dashboard. So the dashboard is a token-gated process that allows you to use the action of your purchase, either be it a Web3 receipt or a Web2 based receipt, to have an experience. And I'm hoping this is going to play. So is this going to play?
We'll find out.
Let's find out. To have an experience that's powered by your action history. So this is a quick screen grab I did of the dashboard. You can see the project is at the top. That right there in the center is actually the digital receipt viewer. Up here, you see your total donations. This is a Web3 login, so you can see there's a Solana address there that was used for this. This entire thing is being populated by a scan of what is in that Solana wallet. That right there is a digital receipt, an NFT that was generated commemorating the purchase of those tokens and their retirement on Regen. This is a zoom in on the project itself, and you can see it's entirely populated with specific information that would not be there had you not participated in that specific project. So that's basically where we are. And is that it?
You have another slide? Or you done?
I think that's it. I'm going to cut it here because I think I'm already over time.
Great.
But yeah, this is where we are. I wanted to save a couple minutes at the end for questions because I know I threw a lot of information at you. But that's the basics of the C-Trees Biodiversity Block Marketplace. We would not be able to do this if not for Regen. And we're hoping that we see additional groups, more and more actors that not only use the capability of the ecosystem and its tools to build crediting mechanisms, but also connect them to all these other different areas where people can buy them more easily, trade them more easily, retire them more easily, and just have a more robust experience that reaches outside of Web3 and into the greater community beyond our sort of little tech bubble.
I think we're going to save questions to do while we have a working lunch. So if you don't mind, Cassie, thank you so much for sharing.
You got it, man.
So we're going to move from the ocean into the Colombian rainforest, and we're going to meet our friends over in Bogota, Francisco Gomez and the Terrazos team, very close partners of Regen Network ecosystem and Regen Network development. Francisco, this is your opportunity. Do you want to do a screen share to talk about how Terrazos is using Regen's tech stack in order to build its own business? Looks good on. We can see the screen share. Let's make sure you're unmuted.
You can see the screen share. Okay. Hi everyone. Thanks Dave for the introduction. I am Francisco Gomez, technical director at Terrazos. I'm going to take you on like a journey of how Terrazos was basically built around this concept of biodiversity credits, and where we are right now and why we're here talking with you guys, and how our partnership with Regen has been so far. So Terrazos is a B Corp. We've got 10 years of experience working towards biodiversity as our main purpose. We took a concept from the US, such as habitat banks, and brought it to Colombia and Latin America. And now we're working on building what we call a high integrity biodiversity market. This is basically our main purpose of working with Regen. But first, I want to talk to you about habitat banks, how we got into this business, what they are, and how they have influenced our work in creating biodiversity credits that, from our perspective, are high integrity and will actually build trust for scaling this market. So habitat banks, they're basically a pay for success model business, where you take conservation areas that include actions in terms of preservation and restoration, and that have some guarantees for buyers that need to either offset or contribute voluntarily in terms of gaining those biodiversity outcomes. These projects are based on the Colombian regulation for the compliance market, and because of that, they involve a lot of features around property management, the requirements for a management plan, for baseline surveys, everything related to the administration of autonomous assets, of course, the implementation of activities, and they are projects that, in terms of Terrazo's projects at least, are for at least 30 years and up. These projects we brought to Colombia because of our environmental regulation. In Colombia, from 1993 onwards, the environmental regulation basically said that companies, large-scale infrastructure companies, need to compensate environmental impacts or the residual impact that has not been mitigated through the mitigation hierarchy. And that compensation basically created a market, an area-based market for compensations. These companies were they were really bad actually at building conservation projects. So what we figured out was how to bring a scalable model of conservation projects that would activate offsets and scale that debt that had to be paid to the government through high integrity projects. So before, compensation projects were done on a case-by-case basis, where companies had to go looking for areas of land with different landowners through short-term conservation agreements. That in some cases were actually done really good. In others, it was really bad, and money was being lost. What we implemented were these large-scale habitat banks, where lots of projects can come with their obligations, and we basically build a turnkey model so that those companies wouldn't have to worry about their compensations, because we took care of everything. And because it's a pay-for-success model, the incentive is for us to actually do the implementation as good as possible, get the approval of the environmental authorities, and that's the moment where we actually get paid. With having worked on that for over 10 years, we started thinking that this model could actually, that this model could actually work for a voluntary market, because of how it was built, because of the guarantees in terms of technical issues, legal issues, and land issues. So we started working on basically a protocol. At this point, this was maybe 3 years ago. At this point, there weren't any like proper standards for biodiversity credit. So we started working on what we call the protocol, so that we could take that experience into a voluntary market, where the individuals or the companies that were going to buy the outcomes could actually trust that they were high integrity contributions. At this point, we created a protocol that basically defined what biodiversity units would be, that determined the criteria for establishing how many units each project could actually issue. that established the principles around how to structure projects, not just in terms of those legal, technical land requirements, but also in terms of how monitoring should be done, which are the basket of indicators and metrics that have to go into any project so that you can actually guarantee that the outcomes are real, and that the project actually complies with what it's set to do over time. With this, we started working. No, we said, okay, so let's build a project, and we did. And that project was a global project. It was the first time that we actually implemented our protocol. This protocol basically sets up so that each unit is 10 meters squared, and for each unit you actually have behind a calculation around how threatened the ecosystem is, if there are opportunities for connectivity, if you have communities involved, the amount of time, the permanence of the project, that has to be at least 20 years, and the actions that are going to be taken, either preservation or restoration actions. Sorry there about the Spanglish. And then with that project, with the Globo project, it was our piloting project. We launched it, and that's the first project to actually issue biodiversity units from Terrazos. Right now we have 2 other projects in line, and more than 10 projects in the compliance plan. And now comes Regen. When we were building the system, we basically designed like a very lean value chain that involved, of course, project developers and marketplaces to take to clients, but inside, everything related to how high integrity is achieved required very transparent processes, both from the documentation side, but also where that documentation would lie, which involved having very robust registry systems that could actually act as the gateway between project developers, third-party auditors, to actually guarantee that everything around the protocol was being met, and the registry system that had the responsibility for taking the accounting of each of the credits. At that point, we understood that for this system to actually work and scale, we wanted it to actually be the most cost-effective system possible. And in that sense, it needed technology and new innovations in technology for it to work. Thinking basically around how lessons learned from the carbon market and the standarding systems were operating. So we basically started to work on how tokenizing these units could actually be a case for making them more transparent, immutable in a way, and could make the whole market more trustworthy of what we were building. We started working on what we call the TIBUs. The biodiversity units became the Terrazos biodiversity units, or TIBUs. We created principles around them, and we designed them so that they, in a way, could become a generic normalization unit where you can actually compare different standards or metrics from other standards into the Terrazos biodiversity unit, and eventually it can become like a generic unit that can actually be used as a single accounting system. We also started working with Regen, designing how blockchain or tokenizing of these credits could act as like an activator of market credibility. So we worked through the white paper, as we called it, that basically serves as the foundation and basically the philosophical aspects of how tokenization could act in this space of biodiversity credits to scale and to make that market more trustworthy. This document is actually on our website. You can download it there. It was done with the Regen team, specifically with Sam, and it's basically our thoughts around how the market should evolve and how to make it more cost effective without losing integrity. And then well, finally, what we're thinking in terms of the future. We build with Regen our marketplace. The marketplace will basically act as a place where buyers and sellers meet. But the idea is that in the future we can build on the clearinghouse concept where we can actually have this buyers and sellers club unite, where you have the high integrity and transparency and traceability of the Regen network acting as the filter of good and bad projects, and where you can actually demonstrate that the results that are being produced from projects are actually validated and are science-based. The idea, of course, is that we can demonstrate through validated projects and on-ground concepts that this can actually work and that we can actually achieve market maturity through exemplary transactions that actually build trust. Yes, that's basically it. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I'm not sure, Dave, if I'm the last one, but yeah, I'm here for anything you need.
Thank you, Francisco. We're going to have EcoToken go next. And then what I thought was after EcoToken, we'll take a 10-minute bio break. Everyone can get their lunches, sit back down. We'll finish the presentations, and then we'll have Q&A as a group, including the Zoom team. So if that sounds okay to you. My apologies, my fault, we're running late. But I want to make sure that everyone gets as much time together as a big group before we have an extended break where we go to working groups. So thank you, Francisco. It was great. So now we've seen projects on the ground, right? Utilizing Regen's tech stack to originate and distribute, ecological assets and some level of distribution. Now we're going to go back into Web3, right? We take the folks that are doing the work on the ground, we're bringing them into a Web3 ecosystem. Now we need to get out of the Cosmos ecosystem, right? Which is where we built. We need to get into every ecosystem on Web3. Originate once, distribute everywhere, which is a goal for Regen Ledger to become the ledger of record for the origination of ecological assets and make sure that they can go anywhere with full integrity, traceability, auditability, et cetera. So our partner in getting this off the ground, they've been leaned in quite deeply and have been really excellent to work with is James and the EcoToken crew. James is going to cover the originate once, distribute everywhere, as well as talk about the liquidity DAO, where he's also involved. So James, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see everybody here. Sorry, I'm just enabling the screen share functionality. It wasn't letting me there. Perfect. Can you see my screen now?
You're good.
Sweet. Okay. Yeah, hi, everybody. I'm James with EcoToken, and we've been building on Regen for a couple of years now. We're focused on interoperability, making eco credits as easy as possible for anyone to access, and trying to tap into new markets. So yeah, basically our mission is to unlock those new use cases, make impact embedded into the fabric of the digital economy, into everything that we do online, And yeah, our vision for Regen and Eco Token is to basically move beyond carbon like it already is into every aspect of impact and philanthropy, where all impact can be verified and put directly on chain, and people can really trust that they're having the impact that they think they are with their money. So this is the current ecosystem, and what we do is we enable credits to be anywhere all at the same time. So without fragmenting liquidity, we can enable regen credits to be available on currently 9 different blockchains, and then any different application that taps into the permissionless API on that blockchain. So we've been Solana focused for the first little bit. We've taken the Solana chain carbon neutral, and we have our marketplace there that anyone can use right now on app.ecotoken.earth. And recently we've gone to Eclipse, where we've got a new coin flip game where we're gamifying things and participating in their airdrop campaign. And then we have a marketplace on Aptos, and we did our first API integration into another marketplace with Regen Atlas. So we can offer any marketplace an easy access to any Regen eco credit or any eco credit hooked up to the eco ledger, and they can just access those and add them to their marketplace at no cost. Yeah, so essentially how the process works is project developers create a credit on Regen or any registry really, and Regen holders now, because the Eco Token and the Eco Ledger has adopted the Regen token for governance. So Regen Network token holders would be able to vote on different types of credits that can access the Eco Ledger and have this distribution. And then we enable that credit process, or that credit to be permeated through all of the different chains and access to the ledger. So right now, how it works is user would choose their chain. Right now, it's a little bit siloed because we're building our next phase, which I'll get to a little bit after. But currently, you can choose which chain you want. Right now, each credit has a different wallet that anyone can access and retire credits from permissionlessly. We have the marketplaces, as I mentioned, in the ecosystem map there. And this is our marketplace currently. So you can choose the amount of credits you want, the type of token that you want to purchase in. Right now, I think there's about 30 different types of tokens that users can pay in. Actually, I think it's a bit more, around 40 tokens that people can pay in. So it doesn't just have to be USDC or ETH or SOL. There's a few other options that are out there. So that's important for specific projects to be able to pay in their own token to really incorporate the eco credits into their economies. So essentially you would choose your currency, the amount you want to purchase. Right now, this is an example of Solana Pay. You just scan your QR code, and there's actually no more wallet connection required. So we have no ability to drain wallets or anything like that. So it's pretty trust minimized. Yeah, so Solana Pay hookup, and just click send the USDC, and then you'll get an NFT impact certificate in your wallet. All of the project information, including the retirement hash from the Regen ledger, will be on there, batch ID, type, date, everything, and then the party responsible for the retirement. And then you can verify, we have our own scan, a cross-chain scan that you can verify anything at scan.ecotoken.earth that will have all of the retirement data, all the purchase data, and everything that goes along with the credit to provide full transparency the whole way through. And then basically the unique applications that we're targeting, gaming and metaverse is a big one that we think has a lot of opportunity. This ship here is actually with a collaboration that we're doing with Star Atlas here, doing skin sales, and they can actually offset in their native token, the Atlas token. So the idea is to have in-game offsets, and long term we want to be in the games having people do a virtual walkthrough of individual projects and then be able to have an impact with their in-game token right on the spot. We have impact scoring, so different companies, different protocols, different communities can see who's the greenest by offsetting the most, having the biggest impact on chain. And then we have fiat payments are very easy to enable using the Ecoledger. It's just one integration, and then split payments for different applications like DPIN, which I'll get to on the next one here. So as an example, some examples of the unique use cases we're trying are the Star Atlas ship sale in March, the Regen Atlas integration for APIs. The Regen coin flip is a gamified approach to different impacts that's on Eclipse. So basically we have a bear versus sheep. So protocol with different credits. If you flip and the sheep wins and you bet on it, you retire sheep grazing credits. And then Helium, we're doing an in-app wallet integration where Helium miners can choose a portion of their proceeds that they get into impact. So this is really unique and interesting because things like Hive Mapper, where you're actually measuring or mapping the world through your dash cam, well, you can actually build it. Future use case could be where you can offset the kilometers driven in your type of vehicle directly in the token from the dash cam. So you could have theoretically carbon neutral cars driving around that are gas powered, but they're just getting their tokens from Hive Mapper and offsetting those directly. So those are some of the cool use cases that are possible. And the next steps on Regen Ledger are further decentralizing the Ecoledger. So every validator will be able to perform attestations of the purchases across all the different blockchains. So thereby we wouldn't be able to, I guess, steal funds or anything like that. It would be a part of the Regen Ledger and Regen Network. And then eco credit governance, where holders are voting on everything. Marketplace integration with Regen is something that we want to integrate. Features like Solana Pay at checkout and helping Regen Marketplace become fully multi-chain. And then next step would be Eco Bridge, where transactions are paid in the Regen token. So this is what we're working on next. What kind of bridge.eco, the next thing that we're building would look like is basically an interchain Uniswap type thing, but for ecological assets with AI agents that can kind of support anyone looking to have an impact. So I want to support biodiversity in South America. Okay, we recommend a credit there and allow you to offset in whatever token you have available. And then I think doing things via simple chat and just making it as easy as possible for someone to use and have an impact is sort of what we're after with this. Yeah, so that's our scan, and scan would be in the same thing with the leaderboards. And then, yeah, so kind of roadmap would be what was discussed there, the Regen token. Next step would be, I guess this kind of goes into the next presentation about liquidity DAO, because Christian's not here, but we're looking to take the Regen token multi-chain via the Eco Bridge as well. So Regen on Base, Solana, and developing liquidity pools there. Launch the Eco Bridge, decentralized validation through the validators of the protocol, and then we're looking to get fungible Regen eco credits everywhere as well. Yeah, and that's Eco Token. I don't know if you want me. Did you want me to do Liquidity DAO too now, or?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead? If we just keep it on the briefer side, that'd be great. But yeah, I think he's not. So, yeah. By the way,
Okay,
Christian,
sure.
before you get going, Christian was going to present on behalf of Liquidity DAO, but Christian is now in possession of a young human. He received a receipt of that human yesterday, so he is a new father and of a son. Christian, I think you're on mute, but if you want to share anything, otherwise, his name is Reggie, and he is healthy and happy and with mom and dad. So. Thanks for being here, Christian.
That's right, Dave. Thanks for sharing. I wish I was present and able to present to you all, but I'm like triple multitasking right now. So I'm glad to be listening in. Thanks so much, James, for covering for me.
No problem. Congratulations, Christian. Congratulations.
Thanks. Thanks.
So
I'm
we'll go
super
ahead and
happy.
just-
The baby and mama are healthy and couldn't be happier.
Yay. Congrats, Christian. So we're gonna have, James is gonna talk a little bit about the liquidity DAO, and then we're gonna take a bio break and bring some food to the table, and then we'll head over into, I believe, are we in wherever Antonio is right now in the world, Sicily, to talk about EVM integration into Regen Ledger. So James, go ahead with liquidity DAO before we break for lunch.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically we're looking to bring the Regen token multi-chain, develop a strategy around liquidity for basically DEXs and centralized exchanges across the crypto world. So basically we're looking to initially target base, and then the functionality for Solana should be available late Q1, hopefully. And that's another liquidity target. And then still to be determined on which other EVM chains we target. So yeah, Celo, Optimism, Arbitrum, that kind of thing. But right now, the initial strategy is to deploy on base first with an aerodrome liquidity pool, and with an end goal as well being a tier 1 centralized exchange. So part of the Regen Network, obviously, I think everybody knows that we're a highly staked token with an engaged and committed community, with high staking rates and well, low liquidity right now. Limited buy pressure has a big impact. Hopefully won't be low liquidity for long, but yeah, the goal of the liquidity DAO has about a 2 to 5 year time frame. It's focused on long-term liquidity and long-term results. So it's not looking to just pump the token price immediately. We're trying to support a very, very long-term and world-changing token. So yeah, the Regen token, everybody's familiar here, but it's does governance, it's got multi-chain utility, and eco credit sales are going to be impacting the token as well, with a buy and burn in the next update. The liquidity strategy also involves liquidity hubs on different chains and kind of driving AI agents, memes, and NFT tokens towards the sort of all having separate projects that lead back towards the main Regen token. So right now, the current volume on Osmosis is monthly trading volume is about 150,000. We're looking to increase that significantly. Basically one centralized exchange listing would add about 500,000, so more than triple that. Base deployment, we anticipating the volume around doubling monthly volume. And then yeah, the 4-month strategy is to have a centralized exchange listing, be live on Base, Solana, and Celo, and with basically monthly volume about 11xing with those impacts. And then the TVL and the total addressable market that we're entering right now, it's siloed completely in Osmosis, which the TVL is under $100 million. And right away, the first thing within, well, hopefully soon, Aerodrome has about a $1.75 billion total value locked. So we're going up 18x in very, very soon. And then once we're on Jupiter, has about a $2.6 billion TVL, and Uniswap is like 6.8. So we're going on a within about hopefully 4 months, we'll have a total addressable market about 114 times what it is right now for the Regen token. And that's not including centralized exchanges. And then again, this is kind of the bridging strategy of making it easy for anyone to bridge their tokens across. And yeah, that kind of sums it up for the liquidity DAO and what we're after.
Great. All right. Well, we hit you pretty hard over the past hour and change, or almost 2 hours. So one, thank you everyone who's been online, patiently waiting, and everyone here in this room. The goal was to give you a sense, top to bottom, of how the ecosystem is working autonomously and in coordination to continue to center Regen token as an accelerant for ecological regeneration, and how people are building businesses on top of Regen Ledger and our tech stack. Really important to emphasize that. So I think we do have a few more presentations, but I want to just recognize that we are running late and people are probably hungry and just need a break. So we're going to take a 15-minute break right now. There's food here. There should be a lunch for everybody. So I think we got a mix of things. I didn't get any dietary preference requirements, so just know that I try to get enough things that you may have to eat something that's not perfect for you. If you want meat, it might be only a veggie or vice versa. But feel free to eat, feel free to use the restroom. It's right through the doors on the right. And then as we're eating, we'll take some moments to chat here. As we're eating, we'll finish up the presentations. There's 3 more 10 to 15-minute presentations. And then we're just going to talk, ask questions, figure out how we're feeling, what really stood out for you. And then after that, our plan is to do a break into some small working groups, if it makes sense. We'll just see how the flow and energy is going. But time to take a break, relax, enjoy yourself. We'll reconvene here to bring our attention back in about 15 minutes. Thanks.